Welcome to the video manual for Superscale. This is divided up into chapters so you can easily skip to the section that you'd like to learn more about. Superscale is a creative MIDI manipulation, music theory, and MIDI generator plugin. It takes incoming MIDI notes and can transform them into a key and scale of your choosing. The plugin can also generate harmony notes and other MIDI CC messages like pitch and mod wheel, and other parameters. Let me take you through some of the features of Superscale. Let's start with the main section, the key and scale dials. Turn the key dial or click on the name of the key to change your target key. The scale slider on the right hand side allows you to select the destination scale. The dice in the middle will select a scale at random out of the 52 available in the plugin. But in terms of selecting scales, it's probably the scale button which you'll be using most regularly. Clicking this gives you immediate access to a possible selection of relative and parallel majors and minors, dominant, subdominant, and suggested modal interchange scales. The Same Notes submenu will give you a list of keys and scales which share the same notes as your current scale. The Go Back option is like an undo button. It takes you back to the previous scale you were on. The All Scales menu is perhaps the place you'll visit most often. When you open the All Scales menu, it will give you access to all the 52 scales available. The number of squares after the scale name indicate how similar that scale is to your current scale. 5 dots means it's almost identical. 1 square means it's very dissimilar. My suggestion is that when you change scales, try and find a scale which is very similar to the one you're currently in, because this will give you a very subtle and interesting variation. You'll notice also that the scale names are coloured in either red or blue. Red means the scale leans in a major direction. Blue means it may lean in a minor direction. Although these classifications might be subjective for a handful of scales, because people have different opinions on that. The on-screen keyboard allows you to choose what notes are allowable, or you can choose to disallow certain notes. This feature only works in polyphonic algorithm consonant all notes and monophonic algorithm stable interval. If you want to use the on-screen keyboard, you'll have to switch to those algorithms I just mentioned. You can allow as many notes as you want, but the keyboard will not allow you to have less than 2 notes selected. Moving on to the harmony section. Superscale allows you to add MIDI harmony notes to your incoming MIDI notes. This feature is only available in monophonic mode. You can toggle monophonic mode and polyphonic mode in the settings page or by clicking this button on the interface. You can select harmony notes in the range from -24 to +24 based on the original incoming note. You can select the velocity of that note too. Remember that velocity or loudness of that note depends on the instrument plugin you're using after Superscale. If you click the settings page for the harmony note, you can specify what notes are allowed to be in the output and what MIDI channel they are to be sent out on. If a MIDI generated harmony note falls on a note which is not allowed, then it's simply discarded. It isn't shifted to an allowable note. This can create pleasing gaps in the outgoing MIDI notes. The harmony note parameter and its velocity level can be modulated or changed by an LFO. We'll cover more about that in the LFO section later. Remember to switch on a harmony note section if you want to use it. Each LFO has a settings page. You can have the LFO sync to your DAW tempo or have it free. There are up to 11 different LFO wave types to choose from. Simply click the button to cycle through them. Here also you can select the target for this LFO. Pull down the selection box to see a list of parameters you can affect. The offset dial, if turned clockwise, encourages the LFO waveform to move upwards in the positive direction, and counterclockwise encourages it to move downwards in the negative direction. Remember to switch on an LFO section if you want to use it. The Humanize slider affects how much random humanization is applied to a MIDI note. If it's at 0%, in the bottom position, no humanization is applied to the note. If it's at 100%, then much more random humanization is applied. Experiment with this to taste. Humanization affects the note velocity, so it's working on the loudness of that note in essence. On the interface there is also a MIDI panic button. If, when your DAW playhead stops, there are still notes that seem to be stuck on, then clicking this button will turn these notes off. Last but not least, let's look at the settings page. Okay, starting at the top, load scale with preset. When you save a preset, the key and scale is saved along with it, as well as the on-screen keyboard state. If you have this button switched on, when you load a preset, the key and scale will also be restored with the preset. If you switch off this button, then just the LFO and harmony settings will be restored, along with your settings page values at the time when you save the preset. The key and scale and on-screen keyboard values will remain untouched. Polyphonic mode. If you turn this on, the algorithm selector will use polyphonic algorithms to act on the incoming MIDI. If this value is switched off, then it will use monophonic algorithms. There is also a button on the plugin interface which does the same thing. Refer to the section on algorithms for further information on that. If you want, you can use polyphonic algorithms on monophonic material and vice versa. It's just that polyphonic algorithms have been fine-tuned to work with polyphonic material. Allow original notes through. This can be useful in harmony situations where you want to generate harmony notes to output, but you don't want to hear the original incoming MIDI notes. Let's look at this example. I'm recording MIDI output on a different track to demonstrate. You can see 16th notes coming in, but in the output these original notes are missing. If I turn on this setting, you can see the original MIDI notes also being included in the output. There are 3 GUI sizes to choose from. The plugin stores your chosen setting in its settings file, and changing it will affect all other instances of the plugin from that point onwards. Allow synchronization. This is a major feature of the plugin. It can synchronize key and scale with other superscale plugins in your project. By default, synchronization is off. When you turn it on, you will be shown 3 options. Sync to other instances. This performs an initial synchronization, which is a change in key and scale, to other instances of the plugin on a different track, if they have synchronization switched on. After that initial sync, this plugin will influence other instances of the plugin if you alter key and scale here. Other instances sync to this one. When you click this option, it looks to see if other plugins exist in the project that have synchronization switched on, and then it forces them to synchronize to this one. When you choose this option, it does not mean that this plugin becomes the master plugin. It will still be influenced by other plugins in the future. It's just the initial sync we're talking about. If you click Keep Synchronization Off, it will keep the value off in the settings until you want to turn it on again. Synchronization Off is the default setting of the plugin. Let's move on to the algorithm section. The algorithms are the musical brains behind Superscale. Each one reshapes your notes in a different way to create smooth, musically intelligent results. There are 3 polyphonic and 3 monophonic algorithms. You can switch between polyphonic mode and monophonic mode using this button on the plugin interface or in the settings page. Let's start with the polyphonic ones: consonant, all notes, super stable, and enhanced consonants. Consonant all notes maps every incoming note to the nearest diatonic pitch in a full 7-note scale. It tries to preserve the polyphonic material's contour while keeping everything solidly in key. The super stable algorithm tries to map notes exclusively to superconsonant tones like the root and the fifth and other harmonically strong notes within your chosen scale. This aims to create extremely stable chord progressions with a minimal dissonance. It's essentially a pentatonic subset of a 7-note scale. The enhanced consonant algorithm sits in the middle of the other 2 algorithms. It allows more notes than the super stable algorithm, but tries to avoid the harshest sounding interval in the scale, which is often the tritone. It also avoids note collisions. Now onto the monophonic algorithms. Stable interval creates melodic lines by analyzing the relationship between consecutive notes. It prioritizes consonant intervals between the previous note and the current one, trying to produce natural sounding phrases that flow logically from one note to the next. The core pillars algorithm maps incoming notes to 6 scale degrees in a regular 7-note scale. The 7th, the leading tone, is often omitted. Smooth pentatonics restricts notes to the pentatonic degrees of your scale, which contains the most universally consonant tones. This can create smooth, flowing melodies that sound pleasant in virtually any harmonic context within your key. Okay, that is the video's user's manual for Superscale. I hope you found it helpful.